Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to announce our new program, Rise Up Cambridge Cash Payments for Families with Kids. This program is the only cash assistance program of its kind in the entire country that will serve every single eligible family that submits an application. We chose to build on the success we saw from our pilot by providing assistance to every family in the city living in poverty who meet the program criteria. All households with a child 21 or younger earning 250% or less of the federal poverty level who submits an application will receive this cash assistance. The application will open on June 1st and stay open until July 31st, and rolling payments will begin at the end of June. Families living in poverty simply do not have enough money to achieve stability because the economic growth that we've seen in Cambridge has not benefited everyone. Families have dealt with record high inflation, ongoing effects of the pandemic, and a housing crisis that continues to hit poorest communities the hardest. The feedback from families in the RISE pilot was that the cash was a lifeline that has improved their financial situations, food security, family engagement, and future outlook. Many of our recipients also reflected on the intangible benefits they experience with financial stability. Less stress, better sleep, more quality time with their kids. As a child of immigrant parents who were almost always working their low-wage jobs to care for me and my brother, these stories hit home because I know how difficult it is to make ends meet and give your kids all the opportunities they need to thrive. I'm glad that we have two recipients here today, Victor and Lita, who in a few minutes will share their story and the impact that this money can have. This program is meant to give families the stability they need and the opportunity to succeed. And most of all, give them hope for the future. We want Cambridge to be a city where all families feel supported, seen, and trusted to make the best decisions for their kids. I'm so grateful to everyone involved in making this possible. The people who you will hear from next, my team, and so many others in the city and partner organizations who have helped us launch this initiative. Today is a proud day for our city, a day that shows how committed we all are to ending family poverty and giving every family a shot to succeed. And with that, I'm excited to introduce City Manager Ian Huang.
Thank you so much, Mayor Siddiqui. I am so grateful to Mayor Sumbul Siddiqui for her exceptional leadership in spearheading the launch of this vital new city program that will lift up families across our city. Thanks to the American Rescue Plan Act, the City of Cambridge has a unique opportunity. This initiative will serve as a leading example of how communities can use federal funds to support households in recovering from the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. I have followed the cash transfer movement over the last 15 years, and I have always been a big supporter. First, the deepest driver of need is the economic inequality in our system. For decades, wage growth, especially for hourly workers, has been stagnant, and the economic growth in our city and across our country has not been shared. Cash assistance programs recognize that under all that we talk about, education, food insecurity, housing, money is at the root of it. This program is only a small step toward creating a more just economic system, but it's an important step. Second, there is deep dignity to giving people the choice and power to decide what they need. For some people, it will be education. For others, it will be childcare, or housing, or food, or a night out to relax and celebrate life. We all have unique needs and expect to be able to make our own choices. This program trusts families to make their own decisions, and that is the right thing to do. Finally, I'm so happy that we are investing in every eligible household that completes an application. Children and families are our future, and as a country, we are not doing enough to support parents and caregivers. This is an incredible expansion of the Cambridge Rise pilot that was so impactful, and I'm so thrilled to be supporting this work. I am particularly proud of our collaboration with the Office of Mayor Siddiqui, the Cambridge Economic Opportunity Committee, and the Cambridge Community Foundation. This program would not have been possible without their leadership, commitment, and support. And I'm also so thankful to the so many city staff who diligently worked on the logistical aspects of this program, overcoming numerous obstacles and developing solutions to each challenge encountered. Thank you for all of your efforts. I'm now honored to introduce Geeta Pradhan, President of the Cambridge Community Foundation.
Thank you, City Manager Huang. It's a true honor and an absolute delight to stand here with our partners, Mayor Siddiqui, City Manager Huang, Tina Aloo, Executive Director of CEOC, for the launch of a truly exceptional effort to support the resilience of families who continue to persist despite all odds. Thank you, Congresswoman Presley, for being the voice and for being the champion for our communities. Now, when Mayor Siddiqui asked the foundation to partner with her to pilot Cambridge Rise, we enthusiastically said yes. We had seen the need in our community through data, through COVID, and over our decades of grant making. The pilot program showed community and philanthropy at its best, instigating change, pushing innovation, and a great idea forward. Very quickly, we were able to seed a fund and more than double a $500,000 matching grant from Mayors for Guaranteed Income. Thank you, Sadia. And thanks to the contributions of many, including MIT, Harvard, the city, Cambridge families, and Cambridge companies. It really takes a village. Stories from the pilot and over 100 national experiments that are currently happening and being evaluated inspired the city to make a strategic investment to scale this effort. Stories from these, from these efforts were instrumental in shaping the work that we are doing today. The pandemic and inflation had a devastating impact on families, and it was made much worse by Cambridge's high cost of living, and we all know that. According to the Economic Policy Institute, it costs $130,740 for a household with 2 parents and 2 children to live in Cambridge. By contrast, the 2023 established federal poverty level for that household is just $30,000. You can do the math. You can see the impact of that. There are about 2,000 families with children who make below 250% of the federal poverty line, the threshold for this program. Eligible families account for about 7,000 individuals, more than half of which are children under the age of 21. So investing in them is really investing in our future. That's right. This 18-month pilot will only provide short-term relief for local families. But our hope is that data, stories, and insights that emerge from the citywide non-lottery program will shed important light on the unrealistic and outdated poverty standards and policies that we have in this country. Shift the narrative of poverty and those who live in poverty, moving families to much more of a place of resilience and dignity, and enable us to define strategies that are rooted in the dignity of people. Thank you, and we look forward to working with all of you to move this important work forward. And I now invite you to hear from Tina Aloo from CEOC.
Thank you, Geeta. As Geeta said, my name is Tina Aloo, and I'm the director at Cambridge Economic Opportunity Committee, CEOC. CEOC is the anti-poverty agency in Cambridge. Cambridge truly is a tale of two cities, with individuals who have incredible wealth and people that worry that they don't have enough to feed their children each night. At CEOC, we see these people every day. We hear the stories of their struggles. We see the fear in their eyes when they talk about not being able to support their families. If any of you walked here and walked down Inman Street, you saw a line of people waiting for our food pantry. It's that way every day. Income inequality is nothing new at Cambridge, but it became even more apparent during the pandemic, and as the high cost of food, gasoline, and other expenses continue to grow. The number of people using our food pantry has skyrocketed. We needed to open a second food pantry site in North Cambridge. This is especially true for our Black and brown families. There's often a sense of hopelessness, a feeling that they'll never be able to move out of poverty and have economic stability. These families have been told that if they work hard and play by the rules, that they will succeed. But many of our families work 2 and 3 jobs and are still struggling. That's right. In a recent survey, over 87% of CEOC's participants said that they do not have $400 in savings to handle an emergency. That's not okay. That's why a program like Cambridge Rise is so critical. In the initial pilot, parents spoke about how the extra money helped them. They also spoke about how it reduced stress in the household, not just for the parent, but for the entire family. $500 may not seem like a lot of money to many people, but to our families, it's a windfall. The pilot provided assistance to 130 families chosen through a lottery. These families were thrilled to learn that they had been selected, but many more families were heartbroken to not be included. This new program will provide cash assistance to every family that is eligible. In the next few weeks and throughout the enrollment period, CEOC, the mayor's office, along with all of our community partners, will be conducting outreach throughout the city in 7 different languages to ensure that all eligible households know about the program and have the assistance that they need to apply for it. I'm always happy to live and work in Cambridge, but on days like this, I'm especially proud. I'm proud to be part of a city that made such a huge commitment of resources that will change the lives of thousands of families. And with all the negative rhetoric about the poor these days, I'm equally proud that Cambridge is saying with a loud voice that our city trusts its residents to make good decisions for their families. It's really an honor to be part of such an effort. And I'm really excited to introduce you to one of the pilot recipients, Victor, and he can, much better than I can, tell you the story of what the pilot was able to do for him. Thank you so much for being here.
You got me nervous. Hi, everyone. My name is Victor, and I'm a recipient of this, and it was God-given. I'm going to tell you why. I'm a single parent of 2 kids. The mothers are absentee, and when you're a single dad, you don't get the assistance that single women get. So that's even a tougher obstacle for me. I can't get child support because they can't put the women under the poverty level, so I don't get child support. I don't get no assistance because I'm a man, and that's just the reality of it. I hate to say it, but it's hard for me. So when I got selected for this program and I was getting that money, I was able to pay my light bill on time. I was able to get my kids internet service. I was able to put my daughter in camp. I was able to do things. I was able to do things that I couldn't do on a minimum wage job. Because when you work, you don't get the food stamps that you normally get because you make 5 cents over what they consider to be the poverty level. So this $500, $250 of that went towards food at the end of the month. So that was awesome that we was able to eat steak once every 2 weeks. And these are the things that a lot of single families go through because they're forgotten. You're either in the shelter system and you get all the assistance from the government, or you're either one of the people that doesn't need the assistance. The middle of us, the single families, we get forgotten. And this program is helping us single parents like get through this. And there was a lot of like stigma saying that we're gonna spend the money on this and we're gonna spend the money on this. But DTA been giving cash assistance to the homeless for years. And they spending it on alcohol and all this other stuff and no one says anything. But single families that need the help get the help, and now all of a sudden we're gonna spend the money on nonsense. And that's what I don't understand about the way this system is designed. We need to help the single families because the kids are the next future. And if I'm stressed and I'm taking the stress out on my kids, that's a bad thing. Because my daughter doesn't need for my aggravation to fall on her. She's dealing with enough with the society, with schoolwork and all this transgender stuff going around that's feeding the internet. Like, it's hard being a single parent trying to like stop things and prevent kids from doing that. And like, I didn't need the extra stress of being broke. So now I can focus on more other problems besides having to pay my bills. And that was big. And with that, I'm gonna turn it over to our next recipient.
Thank you, Victor. Hi. First, I just want to say thank you to the doctor who introduced me to Rise. In 2021, March, I caught COVID, and I went through a pilot program of getting an IV of a drug to help me to heal, to bring my kids back, because my kids were at home and they were sick with COVID too. And I don't know who her name is, but she is a resident in Cambridge, and she goes to the Daily Table in Central Square. And she stood on the phone with me because she would check in. Back then, the government had them to check you in every so often, every days. And she Googled to look for Cambridge Rise to make sure I knew when the program was going to open up. So I just want to say thank you to her, and I hope she hears me. People in poverty do not choose to be there. However, it's extremely difficult to navigate your way out of poverty without genuine support. There are so many obstacles to overcome. The RISE program is one foundation that took initiative to acknowledge how poverty often traps people with policies and are supposed to be made for good intentions but leave with very little hope, and have begun to restore it for us. I am forever grateful for the RISE program. I'm a single mom of 2 children, no child support, no support if ever with the father. My daughter is 10 and my son is 3. He turned 3 1 month ago. From 20 to 2021, I was laid off from my job for 10 years after my maternity leave. To find a remote job during the pandemic, only to be laid off a second time within that year. Unemployment did not kick in right away for the second layoff, and childcare was hard as well as very expensive and continues to be. I tried applying for government assistance, however, I was only allowed food stamps during that time, and I did not exasperate my 401k retirement. And per their policies, you need to have less than $5,000 in retirement in order to apply for cash assistance. Rent was subsidized, however, there was still an amount to be paid, as well as necessities, sickness, emergencies, regular bills, and many glances stimulus checks at that time were given during the pandemic I did not qualify for, nor did I know who to reach out for support on the needs. I became a RISE recipient and received my first gift in 2021 of September. I don't have much time to tell the significantly contributions it has made in my life and family, but here are just a little bit of the things that I was able to accomplish with my RISE support within the 18 months. Have an emergency fund and savings. Not worthy whether to pay either utility, rent, or childcare, and not all 3 when it was due. Have finances to place myself and my daughter in counseling service needed for our mental health instead of being placed on wait lists via insurance coverage. Pay reliable transportation and have some funds to take care of basic wear and tear of my vehicle. Experience what it's like to not have to drive to work with your gas tank on E. Now half full. Afford childcare so that I'm able to be more of a reliable employee and not so disposable to jobs, because I had young children and childcare is so hard to find and afford. I went back to school to enhance my skills. I regained employment. I paid most of my credit debts. I enrolled my children in extracurricular activities. I became more supportive to my friends and my family. I tried different activities and outings for the first time I've never done before with my family, like camping and going on family events and seeing my favorite aunt. I gained confidence with myself that I'm human and I can be support to others and not a burden. I became a Girl Scout leader to support other young ladies in my community. Again, these are some of the things that RISE has done for me and my family, and as we continue to move forward in the future, I hope programs like this continue to thrive and get the support that is needed to continue to evolve. For we all are human, and people in economic hardship should not be able to should have the opportunity to have the support and the chance to live a healthy, normal, living life in this country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lita. This is what government should be doing, right? I'm so excited now to welcome our wonderful Congresswoman who's able to join us today for this announcement, because she is our ally fighting this fight in DC. And she has been a partner in this effort since we first announced our pilot. She has helped us navigate federal benefit waivers and other complexities of how to implement this program. And she is in the trenches every day trying to help families in our district and across the country. I'm so pleased to give this floor to our amazing leader, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley.
I have a lot of thoughts, so we're going to see where I'm going to go on this, because I'm very, very moved and very excited to be here today. First, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the pace-setting, responsive, and visionary leadership of Mayor Siddiqui. And if I could just take a point of personal privilege as the Congresswoman representing the Massachusetts 7th Congressional District, what an honor it is for me that 3 of my municipalities are represented by women mayors that are all women of color. I thank her and all of our siblings here in the work of justice and my colleagues in government for being unapologetic and advancing bold policy solutions that meet people's needs and their dreams. I was thinking of an ancestor, Doris Bunty, who at one point was the head of the Boston Housing Authority. She was the first public housing resident to ultimately head the agency. And one of the most resonant words that she said to me was that being poor is not a character flaw. It is not. But this culture and society will convince you as such. I know growing up in a single parent household where it seemed that we could never catch up, no matter how many jobs my mother worked, I thought that it was a mark on our character because I didn't understand that it was indicative and the mark of broken promises, of broken systems, and of policies that were harmful. So being poor is not a character flaw, but I do think it is a character flaw in our society and in our government that people have to fight this hard to have their basic needs met. I look forward to a day where people do not have to relive or weaponize their trauma in order to compel their government to see them and to act. And it has been my experience, having served on the municipal level for 8 years, and I do want to give a shout out to my former Chief of Staff in City Hall in Boston, Jessica Tobner, because she was the very first person to tell me about universal basic income. So shout out to you, Jess, NFII. And that was many years ago, and at the time, it was truly considered, and to many still today, that's why Cambridge is the first in the nation, that people considered it to be very radical and a fringe idea to empower people with the self-agency and dignity to make their own choices. I mean, just sit with that for a moment. Now, I'm a firm believer in the great thinker and activist Angela Y. Davis, who says that radical is to get to the root of things. So this is radical, and it is disruptive, and it is essential, and it is necessary. And having been in government for 8 years on the city council and now heading into my 4th year in Congress, I know that more often than not, government does not lead, it responds. And so I have to just give it up to all the advocates and those in positions of influence who have kept that drumbeat up, that here we find ourselves today with a visionary, dedicated, pace-setting mayor, and all of my siblings in justice and colleagues in government who are willing to righteously steward what we have been able to deliver using the power of the purse and federal funds. And so I don't want you to take their leadership or their commitment for granted. This does not happen everywhere. So I do just want to take a moment to hand clap the movement that has led this fight. And earlier, we were speaking, and my sister was talking about a Zoom meeting that we had been on during the pandemic, and she was thanking me for being visible and present in the district. And I said, thank you. That's very generous and kind of you to say that you think I've been visible in the district. I mean, it's my job. But what matters more to me is not that you see me, but that you know, trust, and believe that I see you. That government sees you, and that's why this is such an extraordinary moment. In Cambridge, 12.3% of all persons and 7.4% of all families have incomes below the poverty line, and 1 in 8 Cambridge residents is food insecure. Before I came here today, I was at a soup kitchen volunteering in the district, and the languages spoken online in that line were Arabic, Chinese, Spanish. People were young and old, but it was overwhelmingly our elders on fixed incomes who were pushing broken shopping carts and whose backs were bent, and they were going to have to take 2 and 3 buses to get back home. What an outrage. People in the twilight of their lives. So again, it is not a moral failing. It's not a character flaw to be poor. The failing is in that people are poor in the richest nation in the country. There is no deficit of resource. We have proved that during the pandemic. We've been able to do things that for decades they've said government could not do. There is no deficit of resource, but there has been and continues to be a persistent deficit of empathy. And again, that's why I'm so grateful for everyone who is here today. The city of Cambridge is yet again setting another example of what is possible when policy and investments are made in those who are closest to the pain. This is going to yield our greatest ROI and return on investment. Because that is our greatest infrastructure. It's our people. And our greatest wealth as a city and a commonwealth and a country is the health of our people, the health of our families, not just to be stable, but to thrive. More importantly, to rise. So I think it bears repeating only because I'm so proud that Cambridge calls the Massachusetts 7th Congressional District home, that Cambridge's Universal Income Program is a first-in-the-nation type of program that will provide assistance to every single family that is eligible. Working people know how to spend money in ways that provide for themselves and their families. Research across pilots shows recipients spent money on food, groceries, housing, utilities, household items at superstores and retailers, and transportation costs. We also saw the huge positive impact of a national guaranteed income program for parents through the expanded child tax credit. The CTC provided monthly cash assistance up to $300 to nearly every parent in our country. It was a historic success, cutting child poverty nearly in half to its lowest level in history. And when it expired, child poverty spiked by more than 40%. My sister and I were speaking earlier because I love her buttons so much. And I was telling her about the great Barbara Lee, my big sister in Congress, who established a poverty caucus in Congress. And I remember the day that she was speaking about it, and she said, I'm not afraid to use the P word, and none of us knew where she was going. But then I had an understanding that very often in government, you hear us talking about the middle class and the working class, but people don't name the poor. They don't talk about or want to work boldly on poverty. You know, so there is, I'm glad that Cambridge wants to do that work. And there's more work that needs to be done, but I applaud the city of Cambridge for standing in the gap, for making these investments to meet people's needs and their dreams. And with that, I'll just say it is a great day to be in Cambridge. You know, not too long ago, I was on the House floor, and a freshman representative said, I don't know all the contours of your district, but if you're wearing a black leather jacket and pearls, and you are wearing a bald head, you must represent Cambridge. And okay, and with that, I will turn it over to our indefatigable mayor, Mayor Siddiqui.